All right, so this is 4C number 2 practice answers. So main thing we need to know or to do is you need to get each quadratic equation into standard form. So it has to equal 0. So we're looking at number 5. You have to add 9 to get 0. The first thing you do with factoring is you do a times c. So 1 times 9 is 9. Second thing you do is you figure out all the factors of 9. What two things multiply to 9? 1 times 9, 3 times 3, and -1 times -9. Don't forget what your negatives. That could be they can be answers. Well, now you're looking at which factor adds to -6, the b, and that's -3 and -3. All right, so now we got to take that. I'm going to do this with Punnett Square. You certainly could do it with by grouping if you'd like. First term goes in the top left. Last term goes in the bottom right. The -3 and -3 go in the other two blanks, diagonals, and they have to add up to -6n, so it's -3n and -3n. Looking at your greatest common factors greatest common factor of the bottom row is -3. If the first term in the greatest common factor in the row is negative, it'll always be a negative that you'll take out. Top row is just n. The n squared is positive. First column is n. Again, the n squared is positive. And the last column is -3 because that top term is negative. So we have n minus 3 and n minus 3. And that equals 0. One reason why you factor is because now we can actually set each factor equal to 0. And because it equals 0, and with multiplication, if one of the factors equals 0, then everything else, 0 times anything is 0. So we solve these. If you substitute n equals 3n, you said you would get 0. So this is where n equals 3 would be a double. Those are two of them. And that would be the solution. Number 6. Well, we got to subtract the b term here to get it in the standard form, equals 0. A is 1, b is -1, and c is -2. So we do a times c. -2, -2, -2 times 1, -1 times 2. Which one of those? Those are the factors of -2. Which one adds up to -1? That's -2 and 1. So we get your Punnett Square. First, the a term, top left. C term, bottom right. -2n and 1n from here. And just add the n because the b term is n. Looking at your greatest common factors, the bottom row is -2. Top row is n. First column is n. And the second column, the last column is 1. That's a positive 1. That's an n minus 2. So we have n minus 2 and n plus 1. Doesn't matter the order you write those in. That equals 0. Set each factor equal to 0 and solve them. So we're going to add 2. So we get n equals 2 is one of our solutions. And n equals -1 is our other solution. And the next one, add 3, get your c term together with your a and b term. Make fun of my k's if you'd like. I have 1 times 3 is 3. And 1 times 3 is 3. -1 times -3 is negative, and that one would add up to -4. So you have, for a term, top left. C term, bottom right. Make sure you have the positive 3. And -1 and -3. And the middle term is k, so we're going to put k's on those. Bottom row is -1. Top row is k. First column is k. Last column is -3. K minus 3. K minus 1. Set each factor equal to 0. k is going to equal 3. That's one of your solutions. Add 1. K is going to equal 1. That's your other solution. Next problem. Add 8. So our A is 1. So 1 times 8 is 8. So that's 8 times C. And all the factors of 8, 2 and 4, 1 and 8. Negative 2 and negative 4. Negative 1 times negative 8. Which one's going to add up to positive 6? Well, that's 2 and 4. So let's use those in the Punnett square. First, A terms top left, C terms bottom right, and the 2 and the 4. Doesn't matter the order you put them in. And they have to add up to 6x, so 2x and 4x. Bottom row GCF 2, top row GCF x. First column GCF x. Last column GCF is 4. Positive 4, positive 2. So we have x plus 2, x plus 4. And set each factor equal to 0. You get x equals negative 2. X equals negative 4. Negative 2, negative 4. All right, moving on. Oh, now we have the A is greater than 1. Which doesn't change anything if you keep the same process. So A times C. What two numbers multiply to 12 that add up to 1? And you can stop there. If you're looking at the B term, if you're thinking about that as a positive, we could stop at 3 and 4. You can do the negatives if you want, but there's no need. As long as once you get that whatever A times C, whatever multiplies to the 12, that adds up to the B, you can stop there. So first term top left, last C term bottom right, and we have 3x and 4x. Bottom row GCF, top row GCF, first column GCF, last column GCF 2. So I have x plus 2 and 2x plus 3. Set each factor equal to 0. And one-step equation here for the first one. So x equals negative 2. And we have a two-step equation here. So like terms, 0 and negative 3 are not like terms. And negative 3 over 2 is another solution. So we have a fraction. All right, next one. Got to add 25 to get standard form. And now to solve this, what x will go in there? Well, we don't know. 2 times 25 is 50. And we think, what two numbers multiply to 50 that add up to 15? So does 50 and 1? Nope, that's 51. 25 and 2, that's 27. 5 and 10, that adds up to positive 15. Yep. So that's what we're going to use. So you just keep going until you find them. If you thought of it right away, great job. 2x squared, so that's A term. C term, bottom right. 5x and 10x. Greatest common factor of the bottom row is 5. Top row, 2x. Greatest common factor of the first column, x. Last column, 5. So we have x plus 5, because it's positive 5, and x, 2x plus 5. Set each factor equal to 0. Negative 5. You got a two-step equation here. After you get the like terms together, negative 5 divided by 2. Negative 5 over 2 is another solution. All right, last two problems. Add 16m. So I have 3m squared plus 16m minus 12 equals 0. So A times C. 3 times negative 12 is negative 36. What two numbers multiply to negative 36 that add up to 16? I don't know. So I just got to keep negative 36 and 1, negative 18 and 2. Well, I see that negative 18 and 2 add up to negative 16. So if I switch those around and go negative 2, and 18. That'll add up to positive. So that's what we're going to use. Oh, I didn't leave much room here. So we have A term, C term, bottom right, and negative 2m and 18m. Bottom row is negative 2, top row is 3m, first column m, last column 6. So where am I going to write this? It's a good question. M plus 6 and 3m minus 2. From the first factor, I'm not going to be able to do this, but you're going to have m equals negative 6. The last factor, you're going to have m equals 2, so you add 2 and then divide by 3, so 2/3. 2/3 and negative 6. All right, number 12, add 8. That's the C term. No like terms. Surprise, surprise. There could be like terms, but in this case, there's not. There's no other n squared terms or n squared terms or the constant terms. So you have a times c is 40. What two numbers multiply to 40 that add up to negative 41? Well, that's going to end up being negative 40 and negative 1. Those multiply to positive 40 and they add up to negative 41. Let's get our Punnett Square going. A term, C term, and it doesn't matter which order those are in. Bottom row, the greatest common factor is 8. Top row, n. First column, 5n. Last column, 1. I forgot. First term's negative, it'll be negative. First term's negative, it'll be negative. So we have 5n minus 1 and n minus 8. So when you set both those equal to 0, the first term, or the first factor, will end up being 1/5. The last factor will end up being 8. When you set them to equal 0 and solve. Hope this helps. Come with any questions.